everyone, Nick here. Hope you guys are doing well. And just as a bit of a disclaimer, I actually wrote the script for this video a few months ago, but I've been incredibly reluctant to post it. And the first reason is because I was fearful of getting sucked into this maelstrom of political and social differences, and my channel has never really been about that. And the second was that I was worried that my audience would somehow see me as less for openly discussing such a sensitive and contentious topic. But I gave it some thought and I reread my script a couple of times, and I felt that if I had genuinely believed in the words as I had written them, then there should be no problem in sharing them with you guys. So, without further ado, and I know it's been a couple of months of a delay, here are my thoughts on Google, Nazis, and free speech. Like many people around the world, news of events in Charlottesville a few months ago left me enraged, disappointed, and just flat out upset at the current state of affairs that we find ourselves in. Then I found out that prominent neo-Nazi site The Daily Stormer had openly berated Heather Heyer, a protester who was killed in the rallies. Then I found solace when finally GoDaddy forcibly annexed their domain, and then again when Google told the now serverless site to look elsewhere, and finally for a third time when Cloudflare removed them from DDoS protection. The Daily Stormer was left homeless and vulnerable, and after thinking about it for a while, it's actually this outcome with which I am most upset. Many of us are thrilled by the recent show of activism by technology companies in helping to disrupt the spread of hate speech across the internet, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm hugely concerned, however, with the slippery slope that we are headed down. To think that the most powerful purveyors of the internet could single-handedly take down content they disagree with, regardless of how abhorrent it may be, seems to violate the fundamental principles with which the internet was founded, and it's a certainty that I unfortunately have to protest. In fact, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a nonprofit set up to help defend digital liberties, echoes my sentiment exactly. My issue of concern is with these web intermediaries, and as the EFF puts it, especially those with very few competitors who have such a global stranglehold on the information that we view as unfiltered representations of the world. To think, and given the fact that such entities of power could cease the existence of certain information using only their discretion, not only sets dangerous precedent, but also undermines the sense of freedom and transparency with which we view the internet. Now, while I'm fully on board with this internet crackdown of prejudices and depraved thinking, especially online, there's a problem. Because have we really suppressed this information from being accessed? No, I can easily download Tor, go onto the deep web, and view the very same content on the Daily Stormer myself. Moreover, we now have governments and several internet bodies that can justify this domain overthrow as a means to destroy content they are simply unhappy with. Who's to say that Google or GoDaddy can't do the same thing again whenever they encounter milder information that they are still dissatisfied with? For me to support the proliferation of such content would be foolish. The last thing I want is for my friends or family to view hate speech online. And in many ways, these internet companies actually earn a few of my concessions. They used power and influence to remove information that they deemed morally reprehensible. And the important thing to realize here is that these companies don't constitute a world government, so they are free to use their own individual discretion in making these choices. But where this becomes really hazy is that there is no sense of checks and balances when doing so, and it creates a massive problem. Limitations of power become hugely important when we're dealing with something as thinly spread as the internet, and random acts of online vigilantism are not sustainable. And while I fully agree with the Daily Stormer's eviction from the internet, we need a systematic, legal, and most importantly, democratic way of doing so. Personally, I've always been someone that deeply reveres the values of the internet. This resource is the quintessential representation of what it means to exchange information freely, and to ask me not to stand up for its values is something I can't stand for. There are LGBTQ organizations in the Middle East that can freely voice their opinions online without the fear of being silenced, and there are daily criticisms of China's internet blockade within the country itself that government officials desperately want to vaporize. The Middle East and China can easily use their influence as sweeping nation states to help destroy any cyber criticisms of their practices, and so you can see how the precedent set by Google, Cloudflare, and GoDaddy becomes very dangerous. Ultimately, though, there really isn't any clear-cut resolution. This all brings into question our morality as 1, behemoth enterprises, 2, individuals, and 3, massive world governments. Personally, while there may not be a solution, I think that we should do what we can to remain moral and just, especially online, but not to the point where we succumb to the same closed-mindedness and parochialism that is used by those we seek to correct. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for making it this far. Click my links down below to read my Huffington Post articles and follow me on social media when you can. Thanks, guys.